Alright, people, one and all, here is the plan. I'm not streaming Bolo Bolo today. I'm not streaming Bolo Bolo at all. I am streaming a zoo that I haven't touched in a while, and it is Tierra Encantada, my South American DLC zoo. I am very well aware of two things. Number one, well, quite simply, I started this zoo to build for the South America DLC, and yesterday the next Planet Zoo DLC was released, the Asia pack. And so I'm a bit late on completing this zoo, I'm well aware. And number two, you haven't seen a video of this zoo in a while. That is because, well, you know, my time has become a bit more limited in recent times. And I've also sort of run out of inspiration, kind of. The general idea, if you haven't followed along, is that we travel through South America in this zoo and visit, instead of going for the obvious just jungle stuff, visiting some iconic biomes of the region and trying to do some research beforehand. And we've traveled from these salt plains to these more pampas ranch-like environments to the rocky desert-like environments. But when guests go through this tunnel, they will transition from the rocky desert to a more lush tropical environment. And the plan always was for the bush dog to live here as the first habitat. And that was the only plan I had for a while. Just put bush dogs in here. And it's only recently that I've really solidified what I'm trying to go for. If you're not aware, the Pantanal is pretty much the world's largest wetlands. It's not a rainforest, it's not a swamp, it's sort of a mixture. You have these large ponds and you have these forest-like bushes between them. One of the, a paradise of biodiversity, obviously. And that is the environment where I'm going to put the bush dog. It's also where you would find creatures like the capybara and stuff. But the bush dog will live there. The first step today, and it might be the only thing I try to go for today, is to build a boardwalk that looks like it sort of snakes through a small, modest section of this Pantanal environment. I'm not going to, be filling this whole map, but just like a section of it where I will try to recreate to the best of my personal ability, recreate this Pantanal environment. So bear with me. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a try. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a null path. And we're going to just simply have it move over to the left here. And for now, let's not make it much more complicated than this. Perhaps a final turn again, where we head to the left. You'll see. It doesn't make sense yet to you, perhaps, but to me, this is the basis of what we need to do. Then we're going to sink down the terrain just a slightest bit, just enough so that there's water, that we can put water around the path if we need to. And I hope it's already possible. Maybe not quite yet. I think the problem is going to be that I have this is going to be more or less the problem. We need to add a water here, so you can always do this and check where the terrain doesn't match your hopes and dreams. so to speak. It simply isn't steep enough at the other end. So let's sink it down a bit more, just a bit. Why is it saying obstructed? Have I not created a pool here? I will say, guys, my mind is a bit fried today. I went to the graduation ceremony of my 6th years yesterday. And as I am prone to do, I stayed as one of the, I spent a lot of time hanging out with both fellow teachers and students who I'm going to see, well, who I saw for the last time, really. And it's always a sort of an emotional moment for sure, to see these young people having grown and, it sounds a bit sappy perhaps, but they're going to go out there and spread their wings and change the world and all that. And why is this obstructed? What am I missing? Is it... it's just this, is it? Is it just that? How close to the path can we get this? This is the closest we're going to get. And how low can we get this now? I want to make this as low as it can get. Alright, the general idea is that we're going to be covering this path with with planks, and that hopefully this is going to look like a wooden walkway through a swamp-like, water-like environment. That is the goal. So I think to the right we're going to repeat the steps we just did, and that is to make sure we have this raised terrain to work with. Adding the water, and then if we can lower this back down, but I don't think we're gonna get it much lower than this. Not a fan of the way this looks, but we'll work with it. Anyway, that is just the start. Then we are going to make this look like a sand path. Can you guys actually hear the music I'm playing? I don't know. I'm playing music, but I'm not sure if you can actually hear it. Anyway, now we're going to have to look for the right wood, pretty much the right wooden piece to create this whole boardwalk out of. And we could go for, we could be lazy and just take this piece and it wouldn't look completely out of place, for sure. So why don't we just go ahead and place that as a possible contender. If you flip this around, what does it look like? I don't know, that's not quite it, but let's not try to be too lazy. See if we could just construct it out of these planks to have more of an uneven look, and add some more possibilities. This is also, of course, an option. Let's just be taking all of this wood and see which one serves our purposes the best. This, if you flip this around, but the rope, we don't need the rope. We don't need the rope. We could just be using these beams, of course. I'm just gonna grab a whole bunch of wood and then make that final decision. Nope, nope, nope. Not enjoying this. Could have been a good one. I do think that the Australian planks are a good option, but perhaps they're a bit too light and you cannot recolor them, right? I think I want darker wood for this. Hang on, if you flip this. It's not bad, it's a vibe, but too light. You can recolor this, I believe. But it's too clean. I want wood that's looks more aged and weathered. You know, a texture more like this, you could say. I want it to have an uneven look to it. So this timber stuff, this is all fine. Nope, nope, nope. Exciting viewing, isn't it? Watching a guy scroll through planks. But you know, No. Alright, Indonesian stained timber. Nope. Again. Not that one. If my path was thinner, this does have a certain vibe to it, I will say. But of course, we need to be covering a lot of ground with this, and I'm not sure if I can make it work. Does this look acceptable at all? Like, does that work? If the whole section was like this, I'm not sure. You can recolor it. Let's see. Rope color, grunge, wood color. Let's see if we can get a better, darker brown out of this. More, leaning more towards red, to be honest. And then go looking for a brown. And then perhaps also get the grunge darker. Yeah, it's not bad, but it's the ropes, kind of. Like, I feel like guests would be tripping over those ropes. I don't know. I am not sure. It's a contender. Honestly, I like this one just as much. But why is random rotation on? I don't need you. Also, we need to make sure that it actually looks like a cohesive collection of... And I think the problem here is, of course, that you can see the ground through it. And we need to create the illusion that there's water under the planks and not... So that one unfortunately won't work. You know, this one is genuinely probably, if I spend a lot of time on this, making them look a bit uneven, but I think this one is not a bad call at all. Alright. You know what? Let's try it with that. I'm gonna put you here for perhaps later use. And we're going to be going through the painstaking process of creating a boardwalk, water walkway with this. That's gonna annoy me. Alright, we are going to try and sink it as low as possible. And perhaps have it start here-ish. You know, guys, what I'm gonna do? I'm going to send us all over to Google Chrome, and we're going to go to the Planet Zoo Wetlands Annual Pack. Why am I sending us over here? That is because in the trailer, I believe, or perhaps you can find an image of it, this is what I'm looking for. Which pieces are these? Is this the career map? Which I don't think I've unlocked actually. I want to basically try and do this. But I don't recognize those pieces. But it looks like they didn't use null paths. They used the... Where is it? Where the word is evading me. The tree bark path. Looks like that's hidden under... Hang on. Guys, it's that type of day. I'm home alone. This is intended to be a chill stream. More for me than for you, honestly. We're streaming for my benefit so that I can... try and find my way around. We're going to go and find that career map and try and find out which pieces that is made of. Alright, is it in career? Goodwin, Madagascar Panda, Eye of the Leaf. Oh no, it's going to be... Oh, Arctic Adventure. Aha, okay. Is it? It's a bit of a shame that I've never opened these. But America's Asia, Zookeeper, Barnyard Series, Grasslands Twilight. Where is it? Is it in here? If anyone's watching, do you know where to find this path? I don't know, but I'm going to load up this kind of to inspire myself. because I think what they've achieved in this map is going to be very useful for me to build what I'm trying to do. Because honestly, the one thing I don't want to do when creating Tierra Encantada is to basically do, you know, a boring, bland foreigner's view of South America. I want to try. There we go. That is what we're going to be stealing. Right. Also, those raised buildings, stuff I need to steal. This is something that I need to be. Yeah, honestly, this whole map is useful. So we're going to be skipping through the actual scenario part and just get some inspiration from these buildings, like these raised. I hadn't even really occurred to me. Those raised buildings, you know, shows what I know. Anyway, let's skip all this. We can't skip the time of day. Alright, so the Pantanal, the main idea seems to be indeed these water ponds with these big lily pads. And relatively like savanna-like, with not really a forest or a rainforest for sure. Now, where is that path? Where are you? Here. It's just a short section, but East Asia water wheel plank, unpainted timber. So it's the East Asia water wheel. That's what they used, and the East Asia unpainted timber. I really like the vibe of this. So, what you're looking at here is pretty much what I want to build. A bit more expansive. And then after that, we're going to be heading into a building, which I realize now should be a building like this. That's sort of meant to be a sort of flooded former research building that, you know, sort of as in an imaginary scenario was there to research the bush dogs. Again, that probably isn't achievable today. It's just what I want to try and do. Bear with me as I learn how to stream. All right. So we can sort of do away with this, you know, because we're going to be taking very heavy inspiration from what we just saw. So we'll take this path and just fill in the blanks. There we go. And what comes here that's worries for later. I'm gonna remove the water, which is a brave move, I know. I want this to be lower. I want a more gradual, let's just smooth. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to be smooth on that side and as well on this side, while still enabling me to put the water in. I hope I didn't mess up my plans now. This still functions as intended, and so does this. But I'm not a fan of those banks, honestly. That's an improvement. That's an improvement. Maybe it's a bit too big, and I'll regret it, but I think you'll be going like this, and you'll see the bush dog habitat research building over here, and you're going to be sort of looping through it and then head over here, and that is where the forest will actually get bigger, heavier. The path will rise, and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. But that's worries for later. Now I want to go again and fiddle with this some more, because I want to create raised land sections, because the Pantanal is not, it's not just lakes. It also has obviously land. What am I saying? The Pantanal, as you just saw, isn't just walkways through big lakes. Wow, I'm slurring my words. I hope you know what I mean. There is land and water in equal measure. That's what I mean. Okay, so we remember we were paying attention, and we know that the East Asia stuff was critical to create our terrain path. So we're just going to be typing East Asia in here, and we're going to be making sure the material is wood. And then we're going to be grabbing all the pieces that we need. And those were the unpainted timber. Just put all of it right over here. The water wheel spar. Why not? Why not the water wheel plank? Sure. Look at me being all professional and stuff. Ah, you love to see it, right? Look at Yelbu being all prepared and professional. Anyway, let's start laying some bases. Just for my mental health, let's make sure this is all climbing disabled. Just start laying down some planks, some groundwork. Just having fun with this. I think the first thing we're gonna do is just sort of follow the stream of this path pretty much, and try and randomly place these sort of as the bottom foundation. That is the first step. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just experimenting. It's refreshing, honestly, if you're like me and you've spent a lot of time on one Planet 2 project, which is what Bolo Bolo has been. It's refreshing to sort of break out and try things that aren't necessarily a part of the style or concept of your big project. Because Bolo Bolo, as much as I love it, is set in the desert, and I've perhaps foolishly so stuck to the same concepts and vibes and ideas. All right, let's try some stuff. Let's be grabbing those and make them add some texture already. Make sure we have some planks that are looking more, raised, like they were put down on top of the other. the others. It's not going to look as good as the... Or maybe it does. Why am I putting down myself even before having started? It's going to look amazing. That is what it is. It is going to take a lot of time though, now that I know what I've... Maybe the scale of this is a bit crazy. As I've said before, too expensive is my middle name. I have some issues with scale in Planet Zoo. I don't quite know when to stop. I remember for a community zoo, I was tasked to build, I asked to build the pygmy hippo habitat. And my first iteration of that literally was big enough to house actual hippos. I just have no sense of scale in this game. And I just built a habitat that was pretty much fit to house a colony of actual hippos, and then I put the pygmy hippos in there, and it quickly dawned on me how small they are and how dramatically oversized I tend to build in this game. It's just, I love my animals. I want them to be happy. I want them to have space. I want their habitat to look like a real slice of nature rather than and even in a project that I once had, a city zoo, which started with modest habitats, it eventually blew out of proportion and I started building these crazy things. I will lift the veil a little bit. I do have a plan to eventually create a city zoo with realistic sizes and dimensions. That is absolutely an intention of mine. Also not one bound to just heard a weird beeping noise. Had to make sure it wasn't my fire alarm, but I think it was a truck outside. So yeah, I want to create a zoo that's not bound to a particular biome or continent, but where I can just add in, you know, my favorite animals. And perhaps, you know, that's why the temperate biome is so appealing to me. Not worry too much about the local plants and simply using the plants appropriate for the zoo's biome. I went to a zoo yesterday that, if you're a follower of Plant Zoo creators, you might know, the Beekse Bergen in the Netherlands. And one thing I appreciate, 90% of that zoo is African animals. Very large, expansive habitats, very large, at least for a zoo here in Europe. And the plants, the trees are the local trees. So there is a particular kind of tree, I believe it's the Scots pine. I believe, is it the Scottish or the Scots? It's this one, I believe. This tree, or something like it, grows very heavily in the north of Belgium and the south of the Netherlands. And this is the tree you'll find all over that zoo. For the lions, the hyenas, the cheetahs, all the animals have this kind of backdrop in their habitat. And something about that really speaks to me, like the local fauna mixing with the very much not local animals. And I think I want to go for that vibe. Anyway, I gotta focus. I think at this point, we're going to have to start considering a plank that has a different color than this. Something lighter that sort of pops and stands out. But for now, I think I'm liking what I'm building. But it's too, I don't know if you agree, but it's too clean. It needs something, I don't know, more rugged. I don't know. And I might be pushing the scale of this a bit too much. Maybe I'm going a bit too crazy with the scale of this path. The guests have nothing to do while walking here. Now that I'm doing this, I think I'm going to put an animal here. Those are worries for later, but I think I might just put an actual aviary here for some birds. Not a walkthrough aviary, but yeah, I'm feeling that. Do I have a lot of South American birds? Moths or birds in general? Gotta remind myself. Flamingo, which I already used. The wood stork is that one. That one fits. That could go in there. Don't believe I have a lot of. All right, we have 2 already. They sort of share the same environment. Spoonbill, great. This duck, which lives pretty much everywhere. I think, guys, not quite yet, or because I haven't thought this through, we're going to be adding a bird aviary that you don't walk through, but you look at. And I think we're going to, yeah, it's decided. No more faffing about, I've decided. It's done. We have decided, and I think there is a pretty cool mod out there for parrots, South American parrots, I believe macaws, maybe even toucans, I'm not sure, toucans. I haven't said that word out loud in English, I realize now. Toucan? I should know this. But I don't think I've said that word out loud in English before. A toucan. Toucan? It's not going to be toucan. It's gonna be a toucan, I believe. Am I alone, by the way, in being a person who... I think birds are probably the most interesting animal, but also the funniest animal. I don't know why, but I believe like the behavior of birds and the just their general vibe lends to the most comedy. I'm not sure how to explain it. Me and my partner, we have a pretty vivid imagination, and part of that imagination is that we really spend a lot of time, a lot of inside jokes concerning animals, most notably owls and stuff. It's a very long story, but we just have a lot of fun in zoos in general when we go look at the birds. I don't know why, but birds and also frogs, reptiles, but especially frogs and toads they're just funny animals. Just something about the way they look. I am a frog guy. I enjoy frogs for sure. And I think they're just funny. Funnier than mammals. Like, I know a lot of people go to zoos and think apes and monkeys are funny, but because like, haha, look, they behave like us, but I don't think that's funny. I just think that's interesting. So maybe I'm a bit of a pretentious snob, but when I go to zoos and I see people visiting the monkeys and laughing like, look, he's doing this, I'm like, of course he's doing this. It's like he's a relative of ours. We also do that. We also scratch our privates and lounge about eating carrots. Listen, guys, I have a lot of problems when I visit zoos. I'm a bit of an annoying person when I think when I go to zoos. I try not to, but I sort of silently judge what other people do and say. But when they visit an animal and it's not doing anything, they call it lazy. But I'm like, look at what an average person does during the 24 hours of their life. How much time do we spend absolutely sitting still, lying in a bed, not moving? If you go look at any great apes habitat in any zoo, most likely hello there, digital blob, my friend. Am I watching you at your PC right now? My brain is too slow to comprehend what you're meaning to say. Are you also building something like this? Or am I missing some type of joke? Thanks again, by the way, now that I have a chance to thank you out loud for the wonderful donation of the Asian Animal Pack. I was planning on later on in this stream actually visiting a zoo of mine and adding the animals, the relevant animals to that zoo, because I have a zoo which I have never shown off before on the channel or on stream, I believe, that has a large Asian animal section, and I'm pretty sure we can now start adding these guys in there as well. Okay. Just to quote George Lucas, I believe we may have gone too far in a few places. Was it necessary for this path to be this long? It wasn't. But I hope that in the end this section is going to come together. We are most likely going to be looping back like this and then end up here. And this is the Pantanal area, and this is going to be the more classic forest, rainforest. And the bush dogs will be living here-ish, and then the Saki monkey will be living here-ish, and then the final habitat is the ocelot. Believe me, I'm very tempted to expand Tierra Encantada into a full-on South American zoo, but the laying out of this zoo doesn't lend itself to expansion at all. So I'm not going to do that, but I am excited though to be rebuilding stuff for those guys as well. Anyway, gotta focus. A lot of what I'm doing is just going to be putting down planks. I know it's not a riveting viewing. I hope I can entertain you at least with some more Yelbu rambling, which is what I am very good at. Yesterday at the graduation ceremony of my students ensured me that if there's one thing I'm good at, it's yapping. As a teacher, I love to talk. I love to explain things, and I love to. We go through a lot of information in my classes, which isn't necessarily always connected to the matter at hand. It's a weakness of mine. If a student asks a question which I somehow know the answer to, regardless or not if it's related to my subject matter, which is languages, which is Dutch and English usually, I'll answer that question. I'll go on that trip with them. One student earlier this year asked me, sort of off the cuff, I think kind of as a silly joke or dare, asked me, "Sir, what do you think about frogs?" And I said, "I love frogs. Do you want to know my top 5 frogs?" Then walked over to the laptop and did a sort of a dissertation on what my favorite frogs are. And I believe my ranking was as follows. The white-lipped tree frog is one of my favorites. I believe it's called the milk frog. Then something, I believe, which is called the false tomato frog, which is mostly for its name. The false tomato frog, implying that there's also a real tomato frog. Which there is, but just like the fact that there's a false tomato frog, I don't know, it's a charming thing. And then the what have I said? White-lipped tree frog, the milk frog, false tomato frog, the rain frog is a classic, an all-time classic. And then I believe I'm quite partial to the giant toad. Or perhaps is it called the cane toad? I'm not sure. Mostly because in the Antwerp Zoo there is a very, very nice habitat for them, and they always look very cool and sort of serene. So I'm a big fan of that. The Antwerp Zoo, while limited in size, and it's, it's third best zoo in Belgium. There's not a lot of zoos in Belgium, but it's not the best for sure. But it does have a very cool collection of poison dart frogs, and it is a bit of a reference for keeping and breeding poison dart frogs in the world. My ADHD is really screaming in my ear right now, like, this is boring, do something else. But we're gonna finish this, guys. We're gonna do this, what I'm doing now, start to finish. Even though, oh my god, there's still so much ground to cover. Oh, what am I doing with my life? Why did I do this? It's... No, I'm not gonna cut it down. What I am going to do is be smart. And grab a section and group it. There we go. Now we're thinking with portals. Look how smart I got. Look how smart I've gotten over these streams. I believe the pressure of being watched has upped my IQ just through the sheer pressure of you gotta perform for the audience, right? You can't just faff about. You gotta do interesting, cool things, cool solutions. But also, if there's one aspect of my ADHD that's, perhaps it's universal or it's partial to me, but I tend to mess up a lot. I have difficulties completing complex tasks, and even things that might look simple are complex to me. And when I do them without an audience, I have the liberty to mess up and take breaks and then assess what I'm doing. But when people are watching me when I'm doing complex tasks, the stress hits and I mess up even more and I look like an absolute fool. Blob, what have I made of the new pack? I've just booted up the game a few hours ago. I've seen the animals. I'm a bit... The textures... can you actually sort by pack? No, you can't. But I think I liked the modded backpack more. I don't know. Something about the horns on the mod were more intricate. I'm not sure. The Bornean elephant, I'm a fan of. For sure, I think this is, although it could have been a bit more brown. What else is in there? I think I like the textures. I think it's a fun selection of animals. Yeah, it's I think that's not a. I have a lot of mods. I think it's a good pack, but I haven't used the animals yet. So, as for the pieces, I've also checked those out. I believe I'm going to have to start looking at blueprints to understand what their intended purpose is a little bit. Although I could very easily be using plenty of these in my South America zoo. I don't think these really scream Asia to me. These are just colorful floral designs. And I think these are very versatile. They remind me sort of the Indonesian pieces, which I use everywhere because they're so cool. And these things, I could very well see myself just adding, you know, if you just look at a place like this, could very easily be using this, but also in Bolo Bolo, which is so those pieces are very cool to me. I'm gonna have to try and see what other people do with these LED boxes, but this is just cool, colorful stuff. And stuff like this, I know it's decorative, but you could very easily use this in an actual tropical habitat, I believe. And this is a cool piece, for sure. Using this is probably the most versatile piece of all, because you can use it as decoration, as doors, as a roof for guest viewing. So yeah, I think it has some nice pieces. Yeah, excited for all the animals. The dark horse of the pack is the pair David's deer. Yeah, I hear you. It's I think what am I thinking? I don't know what I'm thinking. I do remember downloading this mod. Sort of related. The marsh deer, which I didn't know about, but this is an animal that also lives in a sort of semi-tropical environment. I don't know why I really brought that up. I think I don't really have an answer to your question. What if we check out the animal? Where does it actually live? It says aquatic and temperate, right? Wow, those are extinct in the wild. Really? I had no idea. I actually had no idea they were extinct in the wild. That's not a fun fact. So they live in national parks and reserves. That's actually really interesting. Why don't we go on a little trip? If I figure out how to do it. Because can I drag my Google Chrome window back into I cannot. But knowing that it is a reintroduced animal, I believe, Blob, it does open up a pathway into including it in a tropical zoo, because this animal doesn't really have a biome. And it does say here on Wikipedia that it lives in subtropical river valleys. So the idea could be, perhaps the idea could be is that your zoo is a tropical zoo, but it does also have a breeding program perhaps for the Père David's deer, and they have a sort of semi-tropical temperate section to them, or more, I don't know, that's just what I'm thinking, like sort of more the conservation angle there. But yeah, I'm absolutely going to be using those animals. As for creating a separate zoo for them, I'm not sure. Because I do have a zoo that was dedicated to Asian animals. And now that my PC got a bit of an upgrade, I could very conceivably see myself continuing that zoo and adding those animals to it. And the honey badger could find a home in the in Bolo Bolo. Is the honey badger actually a nocturnal animal? I do not know. It can be active at any time of day. So it's not a nocturnal animal. Alright, I'm asking because I have somewhere in my zoo a tunnel where I was planning to put nocturnal animals. And I usually forget about it, and then I see it, oh right, I have a nocturnal animal tunnel here in Bolo Bolo, which I just randomly forget exists every now and then I see I have some aardvarks there, and I believe like the, what's it called, the civet. And I think I wanted to put the fennec fox in there and the aardwolf, or perhaps some bats. That was the idea. You know, that zoo is closest to being finished that it's ever been, but still a lot of work is planned for it. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I enjoy the idea of creating a what am I saying? An aviary here for South American birds, both parrots and wading birds. I'm liking that idea more and more. What is important though is that I make its design. What's your problem? Oh, have I broken my guest's pathing? Have I broken pathing in the entire zoo? Hey! Oh no, what have I done? What have I done? What's the problem? Trapped. You're not trapped. You have a path that leads you all the way to the exit. Did I remove a path somewhere? Oh no, I did. No! No! I did. Oh god. Emergency pathing. I don't know when I did this. I have no memory of doing this. But, oh man. Ugh, now it looks bad. You know the sound I'm making? I hope you recognize that sound, like, Sure, think I fixed it. Alright, I apologize to you guests who have been trapped in this DLC zoo since the launch of the previous DLC until the launch of the current DLC, while it remained unfinished. I'm finishing it, guys. I promise. Anyway. Does this look? I think it pretty much looks like you're walking on the water, right? We're going to be covering up all of these. It looks better on this section, but everywhere where it looks like this, we'll be adding, you know, all of the appropriate plants so that you cannot see the obvious elevated terrain here that indicates. And then we'll just be spamming lily pads and appropriate vegetation, because I don't believe that the Pantanal is a mangrove environment. I forgot to change this sign. This sign actually referenced the Sonora Desert, which I sort of tried to recreate here, because I'm also going to put a sign right over here. Welcoming you to the Pantanal. And we'll recolor the sign. Why don't we do that right now? We want this mud wall to be, well, preferably greenish. Could just as well recolor the bamboo while we're at it. Oh, is that not recolorable? Hang on, what is this doing here? Anyway, those are worries for later. Just a reminder to myself that I need to add the sign here, sort of welcoming you to a new biome, which is clearly not this biome, but a South American wetlands. Alright, let's finish up with the final sections here. I do want to explore more different kinds of wood now. Now that I'm looking at it, I want to get some other wood textures in this path, even if it's small sections. But I believe this, this is not a bad way to add some interesting shapes and colors, and most importantly shadow, because the reason why people tend to prefer spamming buffalo grass over this is shadow. This grass has no shadow. I think that's the main reason why people instinctually don't want to use this grass and instead use the buffalo grass, because it adds shadow, and shadow is what grounds any digital creation in realism. If you have a shadow, it looks real. So yeah. Look at me, just yapping. I'm just sitting here pretending like I'm some sort of expert in human psychology and computer-generated images. In truth, my dear friends, I'm just streaming, and I've learned that streamers need to talk. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Yo, what am I building? We have returned to Tierra Encantada, my DLC zoo. For the previous DLC, I think it's very typical Yelbu fashion that the release of a new DLC has kickstarted the continuation of my previous DLC zoo. And we are building a South American wetlands walkway, which will first meet a aviary here for birds that aren't necessarily native to the Pantanal, but just South American birds, wading birds, and some parrots. And here the path will loop through a building that is supposed to represent sort of a research hut for the bush dog. Both of those habitats, the aviary and the bush dog, I haven't planned out yet, I'll be honest. Then the path will loop around over here for the Saki monkey, which will live in raised walkway habitat. And then the ocelot again will have a habitat here-ish. And then we finally loop back to this square, and we have finally completed our DLC zoo for the previous DLC. And I'll be putting that on YouTube, including what I'm doing right now, heavily edited, of course. Edited. I hate that word. There's some words that even as a relatively skilled English speaker I struggle with, and the word edited, especially if it's part of quick spoken language and not the subject of an explanation, for example, to students. That word always trips me up as a non-native speaker. Yeah, the bush dog, Hunter BL. I will say I had in the where was it again? In the second best Belgian zoo, Plankendaal, which is in Mechelen, which is pretty close to where I live. They had a bush dog habitat where for years I just went there and I saw, alright, the bush dog lives here, and I had never seen it. It was one of those, perhaps you know what I'm talking about, one of those animals in a zoo that it has a sign and it has a habitat, but you kind of don't believe that it actually lives there. You're like, sure, the bush dog lived here, whatever you say. And then they changed its habitat around, they redesigned it, and then like only, I think, in 2023, I suddenly saw a bush dog for the first time, and I realized how amazingly cool they are. Just, kind of adorable, funny shape, really cool animal, and it's definitely, I agree with you, one of my favorites. Also in real life, I think very few people really are aware of its existence. So yeah, I'm very happy it was in the game. I had downloaded the mod for it right away and had already used it in a zoo before. But I agree, it's so good to have it, and I think it's good that more people learn of its existence. Because its habitat in that Plankendaal zoo is really funny. You sort of look at them from above, and just to see them traipsing around in their little forest, making funny little noises. Very charming animals, for sure. Still feel like I'm missing something. This Z fighting is not good. feel like this is missing something. You know, it's going to look much better, but did I overdo it? Is this weird? Does this make sense? Me and my family drive from where I live in Norway to north of Italy. Alright, that is a trip. That's a lot of driving. But that sounds like a sick trip, to be honest, from Norway to Italy. So you live in Norway, right? I gather, obviously. Oh, right, you said so, yeah. So I imagine that Italy for you is definitely very much going to be a culture shock in terms of, you know, the humidity, the heat, the way buildings are designed and cities are designed is definitely adjusted to warmth. You know, I live in Belgium. We're not necessarily known for our warm weather, but I believe Norway is still a different ballgame altogether when it comes to temperature. If you know, correct me if I'm wrong. But I went to Italy, to Rome, and you can definitely tell that those cities are built for warmth. Italy, Germany, Spain, and France. Yeah. I think the joy of living in Europe is that it doesn't take a long time for you to, you know, get on a train or in a car or, you know, any transport and arrive at a very, very different place. And I know, you know, I don't want to spark some unnecessary discussion with people who live in very large countries, for example, you know, like China, Russia, United States. I'm well aware that every country, especially if it's big, has different biomes and cultures. But, you know, the fact that Europe has had its borders change a lot, but still has had very small sections of land that have been widely inhabited by widely different people for such a long time. The diversity of Europe is awesome. And you can just get on a train here. If I live in Antwerp, and if I get on a train, an hour later I'm in a different world, and that's so cool. So yeah, I think you can probably agree with that sentiment. Are you talking Italian zoos? I haven't. Did we go to a zoo Did we go to the zoo in Rome? Why has that fact slipped my mind? Does Rome even have a zoo? And did I go to it? I feel like I didn't go to the zoo in Rome. But that's weird because I tend to go to zoos in every city I visit. But for some reason, it has completely slipped my mind whether or not I went to the zoo in Rome. I don't think I did. I didn't go to the zoo in Rome. Yeah, so I can't say that's the only zoo I could have realistically have visited in Italy, but I didn't, so I can't recommend anything really. I think what's special also about Europe is that we have a lot of city zoos that are very beautiful in terms of architecture and you know, and just the sheer age and history behind it, but in terms of scale and size, both for guests and animals, they are limited. So if you so from Norway to Italy, which countries will we drive through? Can you perhaps if you name some countries you drive through, me or someone else in chat could actually. What are you going to drive through from Rome to? I'm going to just go to Google Maps. Can you join me? Can I figure out OBS and have you join me? You see, this is my problem in OBS. I am now capturing Google Maps. That's what it's telling me, but I don't see it. How can I put this? I don't know what I'm doing. Where is my Chrome window? Where is it? I don't know. I'm gonna do it off screen and just talk you through it. Let's just write Norway, and we're gonna drive from Norway to Italy and see by car. That's a 31-hour drive. All right, yes, so a lot of that is Denmark and Germany. Yeah, I've been to Berlin Zoo, but you're not passing through Berlin at all. I will say, which zoo is it again? I believe there's a zoo in Austria. You're not passing by there. Which zoo is it again? The zoo in Vienna apparently is one of the best in all of Europe, but I don't think you're passing through there either, so wish I could say more about it genuinely. Alright, you did say railing, and that's not a bad call. However, we are building a walkway. So, like a wooden walkway, so the general idea was for that to look like you were walking on the water. But this is interesting to me. Just randomly some lighter textures to the path. Does this look somewhat appealing? Or is it going to look completely out of place? I don't know. Here we are checking out wood again. A lot of this stream has been talking about wood. I hope I don't get and I hope I'm not breaking any Plant Zoo rules there. I mean, YouTube rules. Yeah, you are going to drive a lot of... our drive from Belgium to Italy when I was young. We had a hotel somewhere in Switzerland. Like, oh my god, Switzerland, by the way, guys. If you haven't visited Switzerland, it is so beautiful. Just randomly, you'll drive through like a section to the right and to the left. You have these giant mountains with snow, and then you'll have these small villages just shaped like a long string, just in the valley. And these people they wake up and they see these waterfalls cascading down from crazy rocks. And then you have these large lakes that also have these long stretched out shapes. It's just crazy. from someone who lives in you know in one of the flattest countries in the world, in Belgium, also one of the most densely built upon, most dense roads in all of Europe, I believe. It's crazy to me that not far from where I live, people wake up and just see the Alps, and to them that's normal, like they're used to it. I hope you catch what I mean, right? Yeah, Switzerland is awesome. I'm also saying I bought Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and recently I flew a plane over the Alps. The plane wasn't necessarily fit for flying over the Alps, so I always had to sort of really fly over the lowest section of mountain I could. That was a bit of a challenge. But props, you say, it's not a bad call. It's not a bad call at all. Let's see, there's obviously a lot of props in the game. Yeah, Denmark. Isn't Denmark genuinely the flattest country in the world, or at least in Europe? I believe so. Aha! Guys, I've this will add some texture. If you really love me, baby. But props is actually a good call. I'm gonna put some crates and stuff on here. Crates are like the easiest way. Yeah, a wagon with crops and tools is a good call. I might just have one. I put a lot of props over here in the actual farm section. I might reusing some of these, but it's actually a good call. And I think I've overdone I think I've added too many of those. But I think it's a very good call, what you say. All right. Let's start by... Oh, cart. Which one looks... Where will it look? Now that I've added this... I've only added this because they did it in the... I'm gonna remove this. If you know what I'm basing this on, the walkway in the career map for the wetlands pack, then you might have followed along, but... Where will we put it? Probably just one at the beginning, right? To set the scene. Perhaps even... That's a start, and then we put some crates on the carts. Ugh. Do we have lettuce? Pineapples. I'm gonna say something very dumb. Pineapples grow in South America, right? They do, right? They are a South American fruit, right? Do we actually have bananas in the game? Yes, we do. Alright. And we'll put a barrel right over here to finish it off. And then yeah, it's actually not a bad call to actually just have more of those scattered on the path. Thanks for that tip. That's it's gonna add some much needed change in perhaps the monotony, because the guests, it's they're gonna have to be patient as they walk over to the bush dogs. It's a lot of walking. This Yelbuzus are sort of legendary for how much the guests have to walk. I think on the website they have to put like a warning like, be aware, our zoo is very heavy on the legs. Pack some walking shoes and make sure your kids are in a stroller. Yes, pineapples are from... I knew it, but... Because... I don't know why, but they look South American, right? This looks South American. Just cheerful, colorful. Yes, exactly. No pain, no animals, right? Okay, we are going to start decorating the actual water. And we'll just grab some reeds first of all. Now, which reed looks the best for this? Is it the one with the white tips? Or is it this one? Time for breakfast. Awesome! I hope you have a good breakfast. Actually, it's pretty close to time for lunch for me. But I'm not... I'll worry about that a bit later. Alright, so I think I'm going to be using the white tipped reefs and then a bunch of other plants to be filling in the edges here. And I think we'll just start from behind the sign. First of all. And not overdo it, not stack reeds everywhere, but just in certain spots. It's just the beginning, of course, guys. There's still a lot of work to do here. But especially sections like this will require a lot of extra plants and rock work to really sell the raised walkway idea. Also, I might have to recolor the water to Amazon, right? And make it. Actually, now that I'm doing that, I did look up images for the Pantanal, and the water is honestly quite clear. Not necessarily this, so might have to walk back on this. We'll see. We'll recolor the water later. Those are worries for another time. Alright, so let's get into the nature tab again and get some subaquatic plants going on, because I want to use these to also cover up some borders. Or not. It's not actually. I believe this is quite convincing. And I think reeds will do most of the job for me. But again, it's just the beginning. Oh, it's 12:55. Also for you there. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna grab some lunch in a bit. Not quite yet. Good day, Aussie bloke. Welcome to the stream. We are building a South American wetlands walkway, which will visit an aviary over here, and then the bush dogs over here. And currently, we are just we've just started on the vegetation, which will hopefully evoke the correct biome that I'm going for. Having said that, let's make sure we check this, because this feels like an obvious no-brainer inclusion, right? Am I the only one who always struggles with figuring out the perspective on this? This is it, right? Okay. All right. Spam, spam, spam. Randomly rotate, of course. How are you all doing on this wonderful day? Yeah, so you guys can hear the music, that's great. I'm listening to a jazz and bossa nova instrumental Michael Jackson video. Why don't I drop the link here? That's what I'm listening to today. If it hasn't come up, I am a big Michael Jackson fan. Or I would say I'm very interested in Michael Jackson. A fascinating, complex person. So yeah, my interest for his music will pop up now and then. I do have a separate channel, which I don't really market for complex set of reasons, which I could get into, but not necessarily. You love the wood texture? Yeah, it's inspiration came from the career map for the wetlands pack, where they created sort of a walkway like this, and I pretty much stole their idea and then did what they did. All right, so South American plants. We don't need the rocks. We need just the plants. And let's see what comes up. Is there anything? Nope. Anything here that we can realistically put at the edges of the walkway. Those aren't. What is this? That's just grass. Tamarind, Swiss cheese plant. That actually kind of suits the color of the wood. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be adding a few of those, sort of at the very edges here. Is it a bad call to put these roots in here, I wonder? Does that make any sense to have these random roots on your walkway? I don't know. More of a country fan now? Yeah. What kind of country are we talking? I'm not very familiar with the genre, but I... mostly through my dad. He was very much into like bluegrass and folk music. Kind of more, what's the word? Like more raw and older. And I think very often when I try to check out country, you get like the modern country, which is very sleek and commercial. And I don't really enjoy it, but like more like blues-like stuff, like maybe it's probably not country at all, but music like Creedence Clearwater Revival. I know that's not country per se, or maybe it is, but that kind of stuff I really do enjoy. Interestingly, the rock texture in the bio I'm working with looks more like dirt than the dirt texture. Yeah, I might go actually... yeah, the Swiss cheese plant, I hear ya, yeah. Yeah, I might go actually add the roots in later. I think what we'll also be needing to do is sort of like adding trees or bushes or plants in the water. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but I want to break up the sight lines, especially in this direction, and this direction as well. And just to indicate that this is a flooded area. Perhaps put some trees or bushes in the water. You don't know things about music, pop and rap. Yeah, I'm a big music guy, for sure. Just one of my main interests. I as a young teen, I decided for myself I need to know which music exists in the world. I need to go through the decades and try to discover, yeah, what exists, what was popular, what was successful, the history of music really. And that journey really led me to finding a lot of music that now is just obvious to me, but which I otherwise never would have discovered. Not in the least Michael Jackson, but so much other music. Also a huge fan of Prince, George Michael. I will also add Madonna to that list, Janet Jackson, but so much more. It's hard to name. I think to make this completely look convincing, we'll have to make sure the edges of this are green and lush, because right now it doesn't really make sense with the biome. So we need to sell the lushness of this more than we are already. So yeah, why don't we start doing that now? One of my favorite trees to use for bushes has always been the custard apple tree. So we're gonna start grouping this together a bit, just as a basic layer, because we need to make sure that when you are here in the Pantanal section, you don't look back and see the desert anymore, and we're close to, you know, achieving that goal. At the same time, also something I will need to take into account is when you are in the desert, I don't want you to necessarily see the crazy rainforest back there. So that's something I'll have to work with from start to finish. Yeah, putting the trees in the water, I hope it will work out. And hey there, Lawrence. I hope it's gonna be amazing. I very much hope so. It's been fun getting back to this zoo after a long hiatus, because it's you know, it's actually a favorite project of mine, even though I haven't touched it in a while. But I'm very pleased, and I will be releasing videos for the remainder of it. So parts of this stream will end up in that video as well. Alright, let's just randomly spam some of this, and then we'll worry about the rest of that vegetation later. Doom, 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 ba-doom, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Hang on. Let's just move you off screen. Do 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 do. Yeah, it's gonna take a bit of an effort for me. This biome doesn't really lend itself to tropical, if you know what I mean. This is South American grassland map, and to make it look tropical, I'm really going to have to, yeah, work hard at it and make it look green and lush. But if you're over here, it's starting to feel like this. But I think sections like this, I might just use tropical rocks and use it to my advantage as well. You know, stuff like this. By the way, guys, in the context of learning things every day, I've been playing Planet Zoo for, what is it, 1,200 hours. I only now realize, I'm not only now, but I never used these rocks. Mostly because I don't like building in the tropical biome in general. So I never really touched these rocks, and I never really understood them, but I hope this is a tip maybe to someone. If it is, then you're learning something right now, that these rocks, if you turn them, the moss is always at the top. And believe me, it took me over 1,000 hours to learn this about Planet Zoo. that the moss is always on the top of this rock. You see what I mean? I did not know that. And that is such a useful rock for what I'm going to do now, because moss grows on the top. So yeah, it took me an embarrassing amount of time to find out that exists. This is a vibe, I hope so. I hope that I'm honestly humbled that even one person is watching the stream right now. I want to thank everyone who's here and who has been here for allowing me to be your entertainment of the day. Honestly, I'm just a guy like you, and the fact that you're spending your time checking out the stream is really, really cool. So thanks for spending part of your day with me, really. And I'm also digging the tunes myself. This is I'm gonna stick this in the favorites and use it for future streams as well, because very much digging the vibe of this right now. Yeah, these borders don't need to look brown, they need to look green. There is one piece in the game that I really dislike, and it is this. But it might serve a purpose at this point. Perhaps if we sort of layer it, I don't know, maybe. If we sort of layer it, it might actually, for the first time in my Planet Zoo career, I'm not sure. You tell me if this looks acceptable. Still, it needs more love, it needs more work and some more fine-tuning. But if you're standing over here, right? I think that actually works. You've been subbed for some time, but haven't been able to join the stream before now. That is awesome. Thank you so much for subbing. I see that you subbed 6 months ago. That is so cool. Thank you so much. Honestly, I can only say, as someone who watched Planet Zoo YouTubers for a long time and always thought, like, hey, I want to share my habitats with people, even though I at the time certainly felt they don't really match up to what other people are building. But honestly, I didn't think anyone would really care, and I also thought it's so difficult to start a YouTube channel. I shouldn't bother with it, but I recommend it to anyone. Just recording you playing this game, and just the editing honestly is kind of minimal if you want to start. And just even having a couple of people look at it and like it and talk about it, it's so much fun. And the fact that I went from Kingpin is a great example of that. Kingpin, his channel has gotten very big, but also Kingpin started out as just another player who was inspired by other YouTubers, but his editing has absolutely. I'm very jealous of the way Kingpin has managed to edit videos. He has a process which I don't have the patience for. But I'm just trying to say that if you have considered at any point like sharing your Planet Zoo creations with a YouTube audience, I will just do it. It's fun, it's rewarding to share your stuff, and the fact that I've gone from no one seeing this to at this point 350 something people subscribing to my channel is crazy, because, you know, just a guy sitting in my living room on my computer playing Planet Zoo, but 350 people, that's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of people. And then you look at Kingpin's channel, which has thousands of people subbing to him. Yeah, so if you ever wondered, but Hunter, you say you have a channel. If you have a new channel, if you have a channel already, I mean, then you know. But if anyone else, wow, I'm slurring my words again. If anyone else is out there thinking, I want to do this, just do it. The game has been out for a while, of course, but I think the community is still thriving. So yeah, just do it is my recommendation. Alright, this section, I'm just going to... I'm not going to touch this yet. This is going to be the bird's aviary. Which reminds me, I will need to have a keeper path for this and sort of figure out where to put that. But that's going to be the bird aviary. I hope I can keep it low-key enough that it doesn't look bad from back here. But what I've built right now very much resembles what I had in mind, and I'm really pleased with that. But I think we can improve on it even more. By putting reeds in the water. Not too much. Will not overdo it, but just these islands of it encroaching upon the water, as they say, will definitely pay off. Okay. Next step is trees. Yeah, the new series. We both know. We don't want to spoil it, of course. That's Kingpin's prerogative. But it's gonna be great. Your goal is 300 subs, you say. Yeah, my goal, honestly, was... I don't know what my goal was. I just wanted to make videos, honestly. Obviously, you want a lot of people to see it, but as long as I'm enjoying this, I'm going to keep doing this. And when I feel, just like you say, when I feel pressure, you know, when it stops being fun and it starts being like pressure, then I hope I have the clarity of mind to tap out and go like, okay, this is where it stops for me. But currently I'm not feeling pressure, I'm just having fun. But I do want to put, even if it's just one tree in this water. But I'm not sure which tree fits the vibe. This might fit the vibe, even though it's not realistic at all. But this does have a certain, yeah. This adds. I doubt it's realistic, but I like it. Just to sort of incorporate it a bit better, let's add some reeds to it, around it. There, I don't know why, but whenever I put a tree in Planet Zoo, it's one of my pet peeves. I simply cannot put a tree in Planet Zoo without adding plants around its base. You'll very rarely see me put down a tree and not surround it with bushes or rocks. Just a Yelbu habit. Yeah. Hunter, let me click your channel. By the way, you say you have an outdoors channel. Awesome. Outdoors. There you are with some cool sunglasses. Let me give you a sub, right? Subscribe to you. Curious to see what you have planned for us. There you go. You've gone to 23 subscribers. Alright guys, I'm not done with this, and I might even just randomly pop up with a second stream today. But for now, I'm going to put some food into myself. I might just randomly return sometime later this evening or something, or tomorrow, but I feel like I'm getting too hungry and getting a bit distracted. But I think this has been a very good return so far to Tierra Encantada, and I will be streaming very soon the continuation of this walkway. I want to thank everyone who has watched and is watching to join this chill stream. You might see me again very soon, and this is Yelbu signing off. Saving again, just to be sure. But off I am. And Hunter, I hope you enjoy your camping trip, and I definitely hope, if I don't see you again, you enjoy your trip to Italy, which sounds amazing.